You're already going.
I know.
That's
I'm always
how
going.
it works.
Always coming, always going.
Yeah. You can't be both.
Oh my God.
What?
I have to tell you, and I've been meaning to update you. I've been using a new toy like nonstop.
Oh, fun.
Not
this
like
is so much better news than I was expecting by your face. I was like, why would you wait till we
No, there's terrible news as well, obviously, with Roe v. Wade. We'll get to that in a second.
Right.
To start with lighter news. I've been using my wand.
Ooh.
Constantly. Like it's an addiction. It's a problem. Like
I don't know if that's
I
a
left
problem.
it plugged in.
What do
Like
you
I
mean?
leave it plugged in.
Nice.
Because
Like
I'm like
supercharged.
Yeah, well, I'm like, well, you have to plug it in while you're using it. It's in the
Oh
wall
my
wand.
God, that's
I talked about it in like our
hilarious.
sex toys episode.
That's right.
So it's a big boy and it's like very powerful. And honestly, whenever I have a couple minutes, I'm like,
Sure.
might as well. It's already plugged in. So then I just go do that.
I love that for you.
Yeah,
because it was hard for a minute, right?
it was hard for a
It
minute.
took you a while to get the. You were soft.
I don't know. Clits get hard.
Yeah.
It's analogous. Analogous
Your
tissue.
Eyes got really. Clits get hard.
They do.
I know. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's wow. I moved my headphone for 5 seconds and I didn't realize that I'm fucking yelling. I think we talk so loud.
Yeah.
We don't realize that, but that's amazing.
I want
for
people
you
to hear me.
I really want. Yeah, you do with that wand. Are you kidding me?
I'm actually quite a quiet masturbator. Are you a loud masturbator?
You mean like when I'm orgasming?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I mean, if I'm in the shower, I can be a little louder because I'll either have like music and it just feels better to like let yourself fully express but I'm not like,
I think I'm quite literally silent. Like, I don't think you can hear me over the sound of the toy. Because there was one time when Jurgen was like, oh, like you can use a toy while I'm here. I think I talked about this on like the last episode, but what I didn't mention is he's like, because I want to hear you. And I'm like, you won't. Like
you won't.
There's nothing to hear.
Well, do you have an orgasm face at least? Or do you like,
but well, at that point I told him I don't want you looking at me. And he's like, well, I'll just listen to you. And I'm like, great. You're just gonna hear buzzing. So I don't really make noise. I don't know if that's a learned behavior.
Classical conditioning. I don't know.
But yeah.
Okay. No, that's perfectly fine.
So there's that.
In other news,
there's no way to transition into the fact that Roe v. Wade was overturned, and that fucking sucks. And I hope it is fucking obvious that we support reproductive justice and are big advocates for you having complete control over your own body. We are working on putting together an episode that will give you all the resources, all the action items, regardless of which state you live in. We want to make sure that you still have access in one way or another to abortion. And if you are still in a state that has access, how you can help those that don't. So we're working on that.
And send in your questions as well, right?
Yeah, any questions that you have, we want to make sure that they get answered. Any resources that you're looking for specifically. Yeah, we just want it to all be in one easy to access place.
Clickable place. Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that is in one clickable place is today's episode.
Yes,
YouTube. And yes. I was just going to say, I was just going to lead right in. But yes, on YouTube as well. You can go there and just click our video.
I have to apologize right now for my resting bitch face in this episode. I think I was so focused on what Irene, our guest, was saying. I look like such a cunt. Like truly, I was editing the video and I was like, who's that bitch?
Who is that bitch? And what was up her ass that day?
Yeah, something. I was clearly like distracted. I don't know what was going on. I was so focused. Let's go with that. And just so interested, which
really
I was
thinking hard. And if that's a bitchy face, then who am I?
So fucking be
it. Today we are talking about sex in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
How to still desire the person that you're with years from now.
Yeesh.
But also it gives really good insight into the stages of sex, even if you're just beginning your relationship, and how you're like building your sex with that person and what to look for.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we talk a lot about the honeymoon phase, like in life in general. And I feel like after is just kind of supposed to suck, but it doesn't have to. It's like there's people who have the honeymoon phase forever, and then there's regular people, and it's like, okay, well, fuck me then, right?
Yeah.
Or don't, I guess.
Or don't, I guess. Never fuck me. But we also Cass brings up a really good point about like the mourning phase of, in my head, I was like morning time, but no, like mourning, the death of the honeymoon phase and kind of that everyone goes through.
I tend to bring up really good points. So thanks for pointing to that. And we'll see you on the other side.
So, hi, I'm Irene Fehr, and I'm a sex and intimacy coach, specifically for couples in a long-term relationship. And really what I do is I reintroduce couples to each other and help them fall in love and revive their sex lives, revive the passion and connection between them that may have drifted away due to just the longevity of the relationship, certainly having children, raising children, all the stressors around that. So it's helping couples make love and sex work in a long-term relationship.
Such important work. That was kind of where we wanted to start, which was, what are these changes that happen over time in a long-term relationship with sex? Why is it important for sex to be a topic of conversation in your relationship over the course of it?
Well, it's such an important topic, and it does not get enough time, airspace, and coverage. And we see so much of attention on sex when you're dating or when you're single, and we set a lot of expectations that it's going to be hot and exciting and new all the time. That's certainly not the case in a long-term relationship. And I think of sex in a long-term relationship moving through 3 different stages. Most people get through 2. A lot of couples, or most couples, actually do not get to the 3rd stage unless they intentionally work on sex. And so the first stage is the stage that we experience in the beginning of a relationship. And this is what I call friction sex. It's exciting. It's driven by hormones. It's driven by your desire to be with your partner and really like not wanting to keep your hands off each other and wanting to rip your clothes off. This is what we see in the movies. This is what we most of us experience in the beginning of a relationship. And it's an exciting stage. It's again, it's just, we're high on these hormones and it's lovely. And this stage naturally goes away because those hormones go away. If you stay with a partner for more than a couple of months, the newness begins to not be so new anymore. The sex hormones are not as strong anymore. And so couples will notice that their passion starts to die out. And this stage in particular really has a short shelf life. Unless maintained by alcohol and drugs, just again, naturally the hormones wane. And so couples start again to see the passion drop. But if along the way they fall in love with each other and start to develop feelings for each other, they enter what I call the validation stage of the relationship and of their sex life. And here sex takes on a whole different meaning. So before it was about the physicality of it and the excitement, the passion. Now it's infused with love and validating each other, showing that you care for each other, show that you matter to each other. So this type of sex can be very warm and comforting and just like a warm blanket. But what happens also in this stage when you have love and this caring for each other is that whenever there's love, there's also fear of losing it, fear of losing your partner, fear of doing something wrong. And couples here start to walk on eggshells around each other, kind of inadvertently, wanting to protect each other, not hurt each other, and again, not lose that love. And that does something to sex. It makes us, for example, for women in a heterosexual relationship, makes us not want to ask for what we really want. We back off and get shy about this. And men stop being so, they stop initiating, they stop being bold in sex because they don't want to hurt their partner. And so then the passion starts to naturally drop from that. And of course, in a long-term relationship, you might have stressors, you might have children, you might have all these things happening, responsibilities, and with them, disappointments and resentments, and those piling up. And so this validation stage starts out beautifully and warmly, and the passion and the desire starts to wane. You also get into attachment patterns. Again, when there's love in the picture, you start to get the attachment patterns kicking in. So the withdrawer or the pursuer patterns kicking in. And so that, of course, affects passion as well. And so here, couples start to really question their love for each other as if there's something wrong with them. And this is the stage where I think of like a sex dying in a long-term relationship. And the couple's feeling so confused and blaming themselves and each other for it. Yet all of this is natural. And all of this is driven by biology and hormones, the biology of newness and sexual attraction, and then the biology of love and the hormones of love. And so death of sex is not a bad thing, but that it basically means that you've reached the end of what biology can do.
Okay. Wow. It is crazy how much more complicated it gets the more you love someone, you know, the more you think that you're able to tell this person anything and really have this open relationship, the more convoluted it can actually get because you're so scared of losing them. I can relate to it so much because in my long-term relationship, you know, sex became such a obstacle, and that's when it really did feel like it was dying. But then the way that you're saying, it's as far as biology could have taken you, which is, and it's natural, but you have to be able to talk about it and have the tools to move through it.
Well, and it would make sense that like all the hormones and the butterflies and all of that, like, isn't sustainable.
Right.
Like just on like a biological, like I only have so much energy. Like it makes sense that would not be sustainable and that you would need to move into something else, but how that would be scary if the only thing you've been taught is that sex has to feel that one particular way, and if it doesn't, then you're failing, or this isn't your person, or anything like that. Like we really aren't taught how to move into these different stages, because I feel like we're really only taught that like 20-year-olds have hot, passionate sex and then sex just dies off, and like if you're older, you're done anyways. So like why would we even talk about these different stages? And that's so fucked up.
And so within these different stages, are there still those moments of like intense passion and heat and like, you know, how you felt in the friction stage, or is it a totally different type of sexual relationship that you're moving into?
Well, the third type of sex is what I call connection sex. And that is the one that's intentional, where it's not just driven by biology, but driven by intention. And it's also driven by really recognition of the things that actually create sexual desire when, again, the hormones are not in place. And one of them is relaxation and spaciousness. So this is what we know as the vacation effect, being outside of your home, not having to attend to anything or anyone, especially if you're like at a place where you're really taken care of and pampered. That those kind of scenarios are really important to sexual desire in a long-term relationship. And again, many people experience that on vacation and then come home, go back into their routines and think, oh, it's just something that happens once a year. But really, in connection sex, and this is what I work with clients on, is designing lives that incorporate these important elements of spaciousness and time, and not just time, but time specifically with each other, where you have your attention on each other, where you are not rushed to do something else or be responsible for something, but where you can reconnect as lovers. In that, again, that kind of couple bubble where we all experience in the beginning of a relationship, where we don't care who's sitting next to us, what noise is happening, what time it is, right? We're just so engrossed with each other, creating those moments. And couples, again, experience that during vacations. Another element of connection sex, which is also intentionally done, is honesty and transparency and openness, emotional openness with each other. So yes, there are moments where couples will feel that intense passion again, because they either opened up about something that they've been withholding before, or were honest about something that was so scary to name to each other. And then they'd have that burst of passion, but they don't know that that's what's creating it. And then again, they go back into their regular lives and that passion wanes. So those are just two examples of how, yes, they can experience that excitement, but without knowing what created it and how to recreate it again, they're just one-offs.
Yeah, nothing's actually going to change. I really appreciate you like laying this out because it's so important and it's so simple, like really looking at it, because it's like, okay, hormones, biology, all of that stuff is going to feel really exciting. And then shit happens. Life happens. Like when you choose to do life with someone, like in a long-term relationship, regardless of if you're married or have kids, like whatever, you're choosing to do life with someone, like shit is just going to happen. And then you have to be intentional about your sex life. And it's like, that makes so much sense. And it is so simple, but I feel like if we don't talk about it, we don't realize like this is what's going on. And I think it can also feel like, I know that I've felt this way, like when I've been with my partner for 5.5 years. And it's like, there have been a lot of times, and for a lot of different reasons, when the sex has just kind of gone away and been like put on the back burner. And sometimes it can feel embarrassing. Like, oh, like I'm, you know, in my mid-20s and like I should be having sex all the time and I should be. And it's like, no, I shouldn't be doing anything. There's no shoulds when it comes to sex, but it's like, it feels kind of gross. Yeah. And it's like, I don't really want to talk about it and be like, yeah, what's going on? We're not having sex with other people, because it just kind of feels embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things that we really bonded over in like the beginning of our friendship was we were both having a hard time wanting to have sex, wanting to have sex with our partners, you know, when like, cause just shit was tough for me, at least within my relationship, but it's so embarrassing to talk about for some reason, especially when you're around friends that are like, oh yeah, we have sex. Like we didn't have a lot this week, only 3 times. And we're like, I haven't had sex 3 times.
I'm so jealous.
That's like 2 years I've had sex 3 times, but
go her.
But how do we work through those moments of lulls while still like trying to support our relationship?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? And I want to add to also what you were saying before answering this is that I went through everything that you described and everything that my clients come to me for, which is I was in a sexless marriage, and I struggled with my own libido and desire. I lost it in quotes, and that's what I thought was happening. I thought it was my fault, and I remember feeling so ashamed and so lost. Like I did not have anyone to talk to. And yes, there was this image that like, you're supposed to know what to do once you've chosen your person. Okay? You're supposed to like literally you cross this threshold into long-term relationship and you're supposed to know what to do. And you're supposed to know how to work through these things. And neither of us knew. And it was incredibly, it was devastating to not be able to talk about it, well, to ourselves, between ourselves, but then also to other people. And this is where so many couples get so confused. They blame themselves, they blame each other, they blame their love for each other or their compatibility, because they don't know how to move through those lulls. And they start to take it as evidence of lack of compatibility when it really is not. But a way to work through that, or at least to start to address it, is to, well, first of all, admit to yourself that something is missing for you. And not just sex as in like you're missing the orgasm, although obviously that's also important, but the connection, like you miss your partner. And admit that to yourself, that this is important to you. And start the conversations from that. Not, we should be having more sex, or why aren't we having more sex, or, you know, can you have more sex with me? But from that emotional connection place, hey, I miss you. I miss us. I miss our time together. I'd like to find a way back to making it happen. So this is also a big shift in a long-term relationship. It's not just about the sex, but about the connection and having it with your partner, not just having it. And that's the beginning of a conversation. And if you do want to work with someone, if you want to seek out support, or even if you just want to, get a book, still leading the conversation with your own emotional vulnerability of what it means to you, how you miss it, what's important about it. And create the connection first before talking about whether it's having sex or getting a book or hiring someone.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're almost never done getting to know your partner. Like there's always more
Absolutely.
you can learn, which I mean, I feel like I have this same phenomenon with our podcast. I'm like, we're going to be done at some point having things to talk about. And then we never are, because sex is like this bottomless pit. And so it's almost the same type of way with
And
your.
so are we.
And so are we. So it's like your partners, like there's no way that you can like ever know everything about them. So there's so much to talk about.
Well, and hopefully both of you are still growing. So then there's still more to learn and talk about. You know what I mean?
Because like we're not the same as we were a year ago.
Exactly.
And like just because I'm in a relationship doesn't mean I stop changing. So, but I feel like that's where my mind goes when I think about a long-term relationship.
Well, we're done. I've known you for 5 years.
Known you for 5
I don't know
years.
what the point is of this.
You could be this old or 60 and you're the same human being to me.
Well, I looked into this, although I do not remember the exact numbers, but we are actually changing every day. Like our organs, our skin is changing every day. And our whole body changes over every 7 years. Like every cell in our body changes over every 7 years. Like our liver every 30 days. Don't quote me on these exact numbers. Something like that, like our skin every couple of weeks. And so it is crazy to assume that the way we experienced our sexuality and sexual urges when we were 7 years old and 17 and 37 and 77 are going to be the same. And this even opens up to a different understanding of sex, that there's a million ways, there's an infinite number of different types of sex. And I don't mean positions or what you do with your body, but it's really sex that fits you in that moment. You may have had a hard day, I don't know, with devastating news, and it's sex that fits you and your partner in that moment. Or sex that's wild and crazy and exciting. Like, I don't know, you're at Burning Man and you're having an amazing time. Like that's a unique type of experience to that moment. Or a moment where you're making a baby, or you just had a baby. There's so many things happening in life that will impact how you are emotionally, how you connect to your partner. And again, there's an infinite number of combinations. And so that's where the growth is. That's where sex shifts all the time, day to day. Like the kind of sex that you might have in the morning will be different at night with the same person. Because if you really attune to what's happening, if you really get curious and have that Buddhist concept of child's eyes, if you really look at your partner with curiosity of like, who are they right now? And who am I right now, given what just transpired? Then you can create an infinite number of these amazing, magical experiences. They don't all have to be like, flying off the wall, orgasmic, but in terms of the uniqueness and the connection, that's where the magic is.
I think that's a really beautiful frame. And I think we do have a tendency to put people in boxes, especially people that like we love and want to bring into our lives. We're like, okay, so you're this person and I can count on you to be this person and you're going to stay that person forever. And I think that can cause a lot of conflict when we grow and change and shift. And it's like, I guess that brings me to another question. And maybe this isn't like an appropriate question, but how do you know that somebody, like, what are you looking for in somebody when you're trying to, create a long-term relationship, knowing that people are going to grow? Like, what are like the things that you look for? Because certain things are going to change. So like, I can't, say, oh, this one thing, that's why I'm in love with you. That's why I want to create this long-term relationship with you. That's why I want to work on all of like creating our sex life, because that might change. So like, what do you look for when you're trying to create that sex life and get through all of those 3 stages?
I love that question, because you can, really, if you're in the beginning of a relationship, you can shape your journey through those stages. And friction sex and validation sex are still going to happen because the hormones and the biology is still there, but you don't have to get to the death of sex part. If you think about the beginning of the relationship and treat it differently, then you can basically get to connection sex early. And the biggest trait that's going to lead you to connection sex is it's curiosity. It's the skill, and also, I mean, it's an innate quality, but it's also very much a skill, the skill of curiosity and willingness to ask questions, and to also, curiosity is an emotional risk, right? You're showing something that you don't know to your partner. Like, I don't know. I want to find out, whether it's about yourself or them. And so curiosity coupled with this idea of taking an emotional risk are qualities that are going to set you up for success, to have sex grow and evolve with your relationship. And the way you find out is by talking about it, and not just talking theoretically of like, oh, understanding what you generally like. That's important. But the bigger and more important piece is actually talking about your desires, your real desires. Like, having a conversation of, I really love being with you. I really love our sex and intimacy. And I would love it if you went slower. I love slower touch, or I'd love other parts of my body being touched, or I would love to try these things. Will you do this with me? So not just, again, talking about theoretical desires, but actually talking about the things that you want. And this is how you really get to see who your partner is, and they get to really see who you are. Because talking about our real desires in real time, that's the riskiest thing emotionally that we can do in a relationship. Mm-hmm. But again, that's where you really find out who each of you is.
Mm-hmm. That curiosity is such a good point too, because one of the things I love when I'm dating someone is that they're going to ask me like questions to get to know me about myself. And that does really set a standard of like, oh, you care, you're interested. And if that's like a characteristic of that person, that really can last you a long time if they're always going to be interested in who you are. Mm-hmm. And I love that. And you also mentioned that if you start talking, you don't get to the death of the sex phase, or you don't have to stay there too long. So is there a way to completely like hop over it? Like that you don't have to go through it at all?
Yes and no. So yes, you won't get to that stage where, when you don't know what's happening, right? You're so lost because you were expecting things to just keep going. So in that way, you absolutely can avoid it. And the death of sex will happen periodically to all couples. Because at some point, again, like you were talking about earlier, life gets in the way. There could be just stress at work, or again, something about having children and that period being really stressful, or moving to a new country, whatever it is. That there may be a shift, and then the curiosity falls by the wayside, and there's just not enough capacity to take those emotional risks. And couples will come to that phase where they prioritize other things, or they just, again, get very busy, and they get into that lull. And so knowing that these lulls, or these little deaths of sex, will happen, but that they don't mean anything, and that by getting curious again, by getting interested, by creating that emotional openness, so that you can get back to having it be, it'll be different, it'll be a new stage, but you can get back to being connected to each other again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Being able to name it is, I mean, in a lot of things in life, when it comes up, like being able to have a name for it, helps substantially. We get a lot, or we've had a few questions about like, how do I keep my relationship spicy? Like, how do I keep it still fun and interesting in my long-term relationship? And I guess like, I want to know the frame of mind. It's going to be different for everyone, but where they're asking that question from. Does that question, like when I was asking it, it was like, I need someone to tell me that I don't want to be in this relationship anymore, Or is it most of the time people are asking because they really do need these tools of like communication, and they don't know how to do it? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I read those questions.
I think that makes a lot of sense because I remember you coming from that perspective, and I've asked that question as well, and I'm not coming from that perspective. At least I don't think so, unless that's really deep down.
That's really
Sorry,
deep down. Right.
But no, I really think I'm asking, when I ask that question, it's coming from like a, fuck, like why doesn't it feel the same? Or why is it just not consistently like passionate and revved up? And like, how do I, like, what's the magic sauce for that? And it's like, well, maybe having like no stress.
Yeah.
maybe like
no
quitting
press
everything.
sometimes.
Like, I don't know. Not having 2 dogs. Like, I don't know.
Right. I feel like motives are different.
Yeah. And I love this question to actually, think about the motivation and the thinking behind the question. And what I see a lot too around this is that the question gets to, why is it not the same? It should be a certain way. And it's a lot of it is bringing these expectations from the media and from society of how it should be. And again, we're also comparing it to the beginning of a relationship, but it was hot and passionate. It should continue to do that. So some of it is just that old thinking, and it's not old, it's still happening out there so much. But another piece about this too is that how to keep it spicy assumes that we need to bring something external into the relationship to keep it spicy. It could be a new toy. It could be, as much as like opening up your relationship to bringing a new partner. And again, we think that these are external things that are going to create the spice. And of course they can, but it's kind of recreating the friction piece, the friction sex piece. And instead, I want to reframe this to is where's the disconnect in the connection between you and your partner that's actually damming the passion rather than bringing something external. Yeah, where is the passion getting stuck? Is it in the resentments that are building up? Is it in the disconnect about what you really want, right? Shying away from saying what it is that you want, or feeling like what you want is too much, or worrying that your partner is going to say no or not going to be interested. That's a bigger block to sexual passion than just things are getting boring. Although that too is a big piece, because most people without this curiosity and taking risks in sex end up doing the same thing over and over because, well, it gets the job done. It gets us results. It's safe. We know what to do. We don't have to take that emotional risk. But the problem is that sex is not meant to be I don't even know what to compare it to, but like something like a car wash, right? Like you car wash, so you just go through it. It does not need to be new and exciting every time. It just gets the job done. Well, sex is about human connection and pleasure and surrender and having a transcendent experience, and doing the same thing over and over is not going to produce that. It may produce, again, like an orgasm or some kind of release, but it's not going to produce the excitement and the passion. And for that, the opening needs to happen in curiosity, taking emotional risks, and saying what it is that you want. And so that's going to keep it spicy. This is what's going to keep it exciting. And of course, you can bring in new things, again, new toys or positions or whatever that you crave, but that it's coming from where you're connected to each other rather than using those external accoutrements to think that they're going to change everything. They're just Band-Aids, really.
That makes sense that, novel things and novel experiences would bring back some of those feelings from the friction stage. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier with making the sex fit to the moment and like having sex in the moment that actually fits that moment. Like, I think that's such a beautiful frame of mind. I love that. I do have a question that I've been thinking about this whole time. So when people act like they're in the friction stage, their entire relationship, are they lying? Like, are they just complete bullshitters, or does their connection sex look like friction sex from the outside?
Say that a little bit more mocking. I love it. That's how I would ask.
That's just what I've been wondering. Like, good for them.
I'm
I'm not there. So
Well, I don't know if they're lying, but what I said earlier, I see a lot that friction sex can easily be maintained and propped up by drugs and alcohol. So if you're consuming alcohol, you're in a way, it removes any need to be emotionally vulnerable. It takes care of relaxation, that you can just do the physical act. It can feel good or good enough, and that's there, right? And that's it. And what I see, and how I know this is what I see when couples, when they stop drinking, for example, that they cannot connect in a sober way anymore, right? And it's not, and connect meaning like they can't even have sex, they cannot relax around their partners, they cannot, their desire is gone. And that's how strong these substances are, that they do create an alternate state of consciousness. And that, again, friction sex works beautifully with that. You don't need an emotional connection. You don't need to talk. You just, in a way, close your eyes, do your thing. And you can be even like fantasizing about someone else in your head while you're doing it, just to get the physical part done. Also, the hot friction sex happens in couples where there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of pushing each other away and then reconnecting and it feeling so amazing. And then getting into the cycle where you're pushing each other away, where there's a lot of fighting and arguments. And then you reconnect and you want each other. So that's where friction sex is very... It can be very passionate, very bonding, but it's a hellish cycle where you're trying to kill each other, and then you come back into passionate sex, and then you go back into killing each other.
That makes a lot of sense, because for really high highs, you would need really low lows to balance it out. It's like you can't just have the high highs.
That's where friction sex gets its name. Gotta have a lot of friction.
Gotta have a lot of friction.
Precisely. I didn't even think about that, but absolutely.
So I think we spend a lot of time mourning the friction sex and trying to move forward. So why is connection sex, or is connection sex better? Can it be better than friction sex? Like, what are we aiming for? What are we looking forward to? What are we working towards?
Yes. I love talking about this because it's millions and millions, infinitely times better than friction sex, because what we all love about friction sex is the excitement, is the passion, is the hotness. And you can create that, and you can go into deeper levels of that with connection sex when you do it intentionally, right? And it's not, what's also different, and this comes from Tantra, so I teach tantric sex, although I could translate it for the modern times. And tantric sex is really about, instead of building friction to create sexual tension, to create that chemistry, you actually create that chemistry and that connection by slowing down, by relaxing, by opening up, rather than by tensing and creating tension and friction. And so in connection sex, you can create deep levels of passion and emotional connection through merging with each other, through this sense of that your body is so open to your partner and so free that, for example, you're not thinking about what to do or what to say or how to move your body, but that in a way your body moves you. Like it moves first. It knows exactly what to do. It knows where you need to put your hand or your mouth or what position you need to be in. And it moves your speed. And that freedom is what really is the experience of ecstasy, right? That freedom, that openness where your body, you're no longer thinking. Your prefrontal cortex is totally offline. And you're in this experience where it's so relaxing, it's delicious, it's timeless, it's in a way bodiless, and you're feeling so fully in your body. And that can go on. And that's where the passion and the heat happens that, again, we might feel in the beginning, but it has a different flavor and a different depth. And going with this, like, I think of it, having sex in the stage is like having a wave that just takes you, right? Just surrendering to a wave. And you know how fun it is, like at the ocean, to ride the waves. Like it's such a great feeling when you're moved this way. And this is what happens in this stage. This is where you get to lose yourself in that and come out of it recharged and empowered and nourished.
The way that you described building chemistry too, that was like a whole other like reframe, like building chemistry through friction and tense, like tensing up, like a sexual tension, or building chemistry through slowing down and connecting. I've never built chemistry that way. So that's so interesting to think about it like that.
Yeah. I'm like sitting with it, and I'm like thinking of all these different sexual scenarios I'm like comparing it to, like metaphorically. We've talked about, masturbation and using masturbation to like manifest or just like to open up and all of those kinds of things. And it's like, I remember we were talking about when you're about to orgasm, like tensing up or like trying to relax into it. So that's kind of like a comparison that came up for me. And then the other comparison that came up for me is like, friction could be like jackhammering in and out type of thing, whereas like that's usually not that pleasurable. Like it could potentially get the job done, but it's like the slow down and the actually knowing what my needs are that actually feels really good. And those were kind of like the physical comparisons that came up for me during that.
Right. So there's good to all the stages, but there's like the sustainability of that last stage that's just probably going to be above and beyond what you could ever experience in the first two.
Exactly. The depth of it. And, with this idea of slowing down and speeding up, that, like if you're in a bullet train, you cannot see the flowers on the side of the train tracks. You cannot distinguish the shapes. And it's the same thing with sex. That's like, that's jackhammering your clitoris or going inside, and that you cannot distinguish the sensations. But as you slow down, wow, there's an infinite amount of things to experience, because we have so many nerve receptors everywhere, on our skin, on our genitals, in our mouth, everywhere. And the slower we go, the more we can capture that, right? We can slow that train down to look at every petal of a flower. And I'm always amazed with flowers. Some flowers have like 10 tiny flowers inside a small flower. Like, right, the flower is like half of an inch big, and there's like 20 little ones inside of it. And then there might be even like tiny little petals inside of that. Like, that's what we can create in sex when we slow down. We can feel the energy in our skin, the tingles, the electricity, like you might feel moistness, you might feel colors even as you slow down and feel into sensations, which is one of the most ecstatic things that I've ever experienced, is actually seeing and feeling colors.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's the magic in our bodies. Like, we're equipped with this. It's just the skill of slowing down and the curiosity that comes with that.
Cass and I were just talking about,
I was just thinking,
like feeling colors, feeling or seeing colors.
Well, we were talking about days of the week and how the different days feel like different colors to us.
Yeah.
And we said that Monday and Wednesday are like pink.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday are like yellowy
and orangey.
What do you think Friday is? Because I was thinking about this last night. And I have my answer. So
Friday's like blue.
Yes! I was hoping you'd say that. Side note. Sorry.
Side note. We love when we mind meld.
Yeah. Oh, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. It was like the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, with all of this, which sounds just so amazing. And like, you can finally be on the same page with your partner, you know, for the long haul. Is there still any issues with like mismatched libidos, or is that not so much an issue if like what you're building is sincere connection that doesn't have to end in sex, I guess?
Yeah, that's a big piece. So when you're designing sex mindfully, not every interaction has to end in sex, as we know, and like intercourse and orgasm, both people have to finish. But there's a lot of variations that it can take shape, and so that, and also just the whole process of getting there by talking about each other's needs and desires, that starts to line people up in terms of mismatched libidos. That so much of mismatched libidos comes from not having your needs met and not ever verbalizing your needs. So not even having any clue on how to get your needs met, and having these big breaks between sexual connection that then allow the tension to build up and the need to release be strong. And that's obviously especially true for someone who has kind of overtly high level of libido. But when you are having constant sexual interactions, be it through flirting or through kissing or having sensual touch that creates that sexual pleasure and sexual connection through relaxation, people's libidos, the low libido person, and I'm using air quotes, starts to open up, and they're like, oh, I really like this. I don't want to have an orgasm every time we have sex, but I can certainly, take being stroked and being massaged, getting like a sexual massage where I don't have to climax. Hey, I can do that more often. And that sexual connection for the high libido partner actually nourishes them and makes them less of, okay, I need this. I have to have it. Otherwise, I'm going to explode. And so they start to line up more, and they start to actually have a sustainable sexual desire and libido, and this is because the connection is sustainable. And that's also one of the biggest things about connection sex, is learning how to have regular sexual connection and being okay with different ways that it looks. Again, some days you want the full thing with intercourse and orgasm, and other times you're really like the sexual stroking and just having a sensual massage is exactly the right thing. Right? And also another piece is not necessarily always being in the same place. That like both people don't have to want to have sex. One person can be the receiver one day, and the other one the giver. And then the next day they switch. Depending on circumstances and life situations. If you're going through a hard time and you don't have the energy to give to your partner, it might be an amazing experience that time, that period, to be the receiver, to be nourished by sex and sexual touch, and not just have to show up with full enthusiasm. So the more variation you have that way, the more permission you have to have this variation, the more you can meet different libidos and again sync up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, the hardest part of all of it can be the conversation, So if you are talking about like, oh, I have a lot of sex drive right now, where are you at? And you're like, not so much, but we can do this, like that really does mitigate the issue. I feel like 9 times out of 10. So that's reassuring to hear too, that can become not so much of an issue.
Absolutely. And we were just talking in a recent episode about sexual bids and like meeting somebody's bid or denying somebody's bid and like renegotiating and all of that to make sure that both people feel validated. And so I feel like that really aligns with that. And I feel like the connection stage really just sounds like relaxing into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like that lack of pressure and the lack of like force and really just relaxing into it. There's no shoulds. There's just, it is. And I really like that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And you use the word negotiation, and that's a big piece, and not like a formal negotiation, like you're sitting at a table and discussing things, but it's the conversations of what do you want, and what are you available for? What do I want? What am I available for? And answering those bids, making each other feel important to each other, that you're listening and hearing, and coming up with something. It may not be the thing that the person wants, but redirecting to something else. I'm not available for this, but I'd love to do this. Mm-hmm. And offering yourself up, and obviously being willing to meet your partner still in some kind of connection. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes what I see this for myself and my clients is that it leads to more. When we feel heard and understood and met in those bids, it actually leads to more desire and connection. It's like, oh, actually that felt awesome. Let's do more. I didn't know I had that energy in me, but now that this felt so good, I'm available for more. And then again, more can happen.
Like we were talking about in that same episode with the, I'm going to give myself 5 to 10 minutes of, being at least open to this situation. Or we were talking about it in terms of going to the gym. And if I still feel good 5 minutes from now, we can talk about it. We can talk about adding some cardio or abs or something, but if I don't, then I won't. So I love that. And I don't have any, I want to leave it on a really high note.
Yeah.
Unless you have something else.
No, I think, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to make sure is said?
Well, this piece of what you just mentioned, the moment by moment, this is also very important. And it's very important to connection sex because like we talked about earlier, we're changing constantly. We're changing every second, right? Something can happen and it emotionally wakes us up and changes us. And so the key is to stay in it moment by moment. Like what's happening now? What do I want now? What does my body want now? What does my partner want now? And now? And again, now and now, and not jump to, oh, I got to be over there, right? I have to, either finish this way or create this impact for my partner. And this is really important for specifically women in a long-term relationship. In our libido is we need time to get into it, to be met, to kind of relax, for our body to get turned on. And where women get tripped up, myself included, was thinking, I got to be over there. I got to be in the mood. I got to be turned on. I have to perform a certain way. And so that made all the little steps, all those moments leading up to it miserable, tense, worried. And so how to break through that is to really take it minute by minute. What do I want now? What's going to bring me pleasure? What's going to feel most connected with my partner? And then you can experience the magic of that moment. And that's going to feed the next one and the next one and the next one. And again, kind of guaranteeing you that you're going to get to where you want to go.
Beautiful. Yes. Where can our listeners continue connecting with you after this episode?
So I have a wealth of information on my website, which is irenefehr.com. There's a free video series called How to Want Sex Again. There is just hundreds of blog posts and articles, and of course, ways to get in touch with me for couples coaching. So that's on my website, irenefehr.com.
You've made it to the end of our long-term relationship.
Not really. That sounds like this is the last episode.
You never know what life can bring.
Are you breaking up with me?
You ask me that a lot, actually. No, I'm not.
You talk a lot like
we're
that.
We're not in a secure relationship. We need to secure our bond.
Yeah.
No, I'm not breaking
legally
up with you. You already did that, and I'm still sour.
I think, well, legally, we're actually quite tight as well.
That's true.
If you think about that.
Yeah. We will need lawyers if we ever want to do something that goes against each other.
So there you go.
We are in a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Thank fucking God. Mm-hmm. It worked for me somehow. Great. Thanks, Irene, for, bringing that to light. And also thank you for being on the episode today. And thank you to our listeners.
I think we're in the friction stage.
We're the friction stage.
Is that the bad one?
That's not the bad one. It's
I
just
didn't
the
mean
first
that.
one.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get a little hot. Never mind. You go.
Anyway, head on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe to Honey Do Me. You can also rate us on Spotify. So do that there. I think most of you listen on Spotify.
Yeah, you do.
If this is going to be the episode that's going to get you to leave a review, make it a nice one.
Make it a nice one, first and foremost.
Maybe leave a heart or something.
Yeah.
Because,
match my nails, my red nails.
There you go.
Red heart.
There you go.
Or do the nail. If you made it this far, you can do the nail painting emoji, because then I'll know you like me.
And I'll know you like my nails.
You like my nails. And you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Double whammy.
Double whammy. All right.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.